Will you continue to wear a mask when the pandemic is over? If so, why? I work in a dusty, nasty warehouse. I would constantly blow black crap out my nose. Now with that mask I never do. I will keep wearing masks at work. Wow. Your workplace should have had you wearing it all along. F that. And depending on why it is so dusty and crap, just get the place effing cleaned once in a while. Now if it's a coal mine or something that ain't fixing crap. OSHA rules state if a certain percentage of dust cannot be eliminated from the air, a mask must be provided. That may be the case, but a lot of manufacturing that I've seen propagates a crappy culture of ultra-masculinity where things like masks for your health and safety are something to be embarrassed by. I worked in iron processing and manufacturing, and guys would leave their shift completely covered in black iron dust. Very few would wear masks when it wasn't absolutely necessary to keep your face safe from harm. Edit. It's encouraging to see many of you setting a good example for others in your field. Keep fighting the good fight. Flex biceps. Yeah. We cleaned a church organ completely covered in mold, and I had to repeatedly tell people to wear their masks. But I can't breathe, right? Yeah. Want to make that one permanent? To be fair, if you do physical work, the masks are a nuisance, but still. Even the fairly harmless molds can do you harm in great quantities. I know plenty of people who've worked in my industry for decades who are retired or will soon and have some pretty poor respiratory health because a mask was a nuisance for their entire career. It's a shame. Milwaukee makes a vented mask that works well. Also, a 3 meters dual cartridge respirator is fantastic if it's really bad. Should report that to OSHA, bud. You can probably get respirators paid for then. Their description matched my experience at Amazon, and I reached the point where I started to believe Amazon has OSHA paid off. 4 years with the company, and through all the safety training and related stuff I had to do, the only mentions of OSHA I recall ever hearing during my time with the company was other coworkers wondering where they were. Amazon has their own safety department at every warehouse that's responsible for handling on-site injuries and safety concerns. Something just seemed off considering how big of a presence OSHA had at my last job, to being non-existent at one of the largest companies on the planet. There's a lot of companies that have little to no OSHA presence, because they have their own safety policies that are more stringent. 9/10 it's bullcrap, but they're able to put on a show for their employees and the very occasional OSHA inspector, so they keep avoiding it. After this I'll mainly wear them doing crimes or when I'm ill. A few weeks ago, some guys smashed my car window to steal some crap and stomped their muddy effing boots all over my seats like Rick James. As I'm rewatching my Nest Cam video with the cops, I had to marvel that in a time when everyone is wearing masks, these guys are committing crimes with no masks on. F yo couch laughing my butt off. ABC. Always be criming. Robert seal of approval. r/unexpected TB, Reddit link. Wearing a mask when it's cold feels great. It's like a sweater for my face. No chapped lips or dry skin either. Wow, that's so true. I didn't have chapped lips all winter, and I didn't even bother using any chapstick. Same, I used to get really bad dry skin on my lips, cheeks, and under my nose. I have a balm that I'd have to smear all over my face. This winter? Never even had to use chapstick. Yes. This whole last year, no colitis, no ripped lips from being dry, on top of no 3-month-long bronchitis. I'm a landscaper. I'm never going back to blowing without a mask. Probably should have in the first place. Certain jobs it makes sense. I'd want to wear one, say, cleaning bathrooms if that were in my job for sure. I can't explain it, but I walked into an airport bathroom, and it smelled like popcorn. I flipped my mask up, and it smelled like crap. Then I flipped my mask back down, smelled like popcorn. I have no idea how/why this happened, and maybe your experience won't be the same, but I was happy for my mask that day. Some particles were filtered by the mask, so you could only smell those who weren't. When you got your mask off you could smell all of them, so the smell was more accurate. So you're saying that this bathroom renegade of funk took a crap, which had some amount of vegetable oil, And corn product in his system? Because if so, that opens up a whole new world of bathroom experiences. What if we made Glade plugins that only smell good if you wear a mask? To encourage people to not be a buffet of dicks? Yes, probably. Or there was a compound that smelled like that, without it necessarily being popcorn. Haha, I had never thought of that. Very practical. I think that there might be moral issues about filling up public indoor spaces with a stinky smell. It is probably possible though. Reminds of when I visited China and needed a taxi from the airport to the hotel. Seemingly, the only way to get one would be to wait in line in an underground car park due to how many people needed rides. Thing is, the place absolutely reeked of urine, piss stains all over the walls. The guys keeping the line in check seemed to be offering a fast pass system if you paid them extra. I imagine they were purposefully pissing to possibly piss off passengers to make them pay to pass post haste. We managed to outlast it and save our cash, but we had to spend what felt like 4 hours standing in utmost uncomfortable conditions. 1 hour in and no comments on your heroic example of alliteration? Piss poor, people. I get very carried away with it, as you can tell. I know a man who was told he had cancerous growth in his lungs. Turns out it was leaf debris from blowing his yard that fall. You should definitely wear a mask. That must have been a relief that it wasn't cancer. God damn it. I'm an iron worker. The amount of particulates I was breathing in while drilling into concrete or scraping fireproofing off of steel is ridiculous. I'm definitely keeping my mask on. And on top of that, I take the NYC subway into work, and past years I was almost guaranteed to get sick, but not since I was wearing my mask. Edit. Whoa. Not expecting this many replies. Just for everyone's consideration, I use N95 masks and filters with respirator when doing a detail. But most days it's just drill one hole or scrap a bit of monocoat. And I have a mask on most times. I work outside, so if I'm drilling a hole I stand upwind and minimize exposure. I'll just drill a hole instead of going down 5 flights of stairs for a respirator. Lol. I appreciate the concern and always emphasize working safe. Dude, for that stuff you need at least an N95, not just a normal mask. As a fellow tradesman, welder/fabricator, I implore you to wear the correct PPE. The amount of small particles that we encounter on the daily that will just wreck your lungs in the long run is insane. It is one thing to just grind one little piece with the wind or a fan at your back without a mask, but we're doing a lot more than that on a typical day. It really adds up. We just talked about drilling into concrete and silica exposure. For certain things you really need a respirator if a tool can't mitigate the dust produced. A mask barely blocks anything. We just drilled a hole for an embed quickly yesterday, and we still used a dust vacuum for our rotohammer and wore a face shield. Why isn't your contractor providing this stuff? I did painting for a bit. Epping blew fewer colors out my nose after a job wearing a mask than before. I feel you. They make respirators specifically for painters. Blowing? It's an extra service. Usually happens after bush trimming. Is it before or after the edging though? 2-stroke? 4-stroke and some good lube gets the job done every time. That's quite fast. Not sure if I'm impressed or sympathetic. I live in Michigan. My dad and I were just talking a couple weeks ago about how we might keep wearing them through winters because they kept our faces warm against all of the wind. Yay, I live in Minnesota and masks have been great for walking the dog on cold nights. Pair with scarf for ultimate warmth of face and neck. I'm from Michigan and live in Wisconsin now. Get a turtle fur neck warmer. Works like a scarf, and you can easily pull it up over your face to keep it warm. I wear one walking my dog every day in the winter, and never snowboard without one. They need to figure out how to get them to stop fogging up glasses. None of the commonly suggested methods seem to do the trick for me. A clerk at a gas station told me she used Rain X on the lenses and it worked permanently. This seems like a great idea, but I'm scared to try it. I wonder if it would break down any special coatings you added to your lenses. I just dropped about $450 on new glasses with anti-glare and blue light filtering lenses. They are great, but the shape of these frames makes them fog really bad with masks more than my old pair. Edit. Thanks everyone for your responses. You guys are great. I left a tip in response to /user needs it rough for being a total bro and asking their dad, but I'll leave it here too. Rain X works great on glass shower doors for keeping soap scum at bay. It's great if you're lazy like me and hate cleaning your shower and want to do it as seldom as possible, lol. Reddit link. My dad is an optometrist. I'll shoot him a text and see if he knows edit. Probably not the answer you were looking for, but he usually errs on the cautious side. Web link. Thanks for this. As a glasses wearer, I found that putting my glasses frame above my mask helps them to not fog up. I might look silly to others, however, since having glasses far from my eyes makes the eyes look a bit smaller, but at least I can see. I also put my glasses on top of my mask. It also helps keep my mask on my nose, or a specific position I stumble upon that doesn't fog up my glasses. This is actually a really good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I'm a detailer, and I deal with the stuff every other day. Maybe test an old pair first? I'd be worried it would ruin any coating you have on your lenses. Rain X is effing witchcraft. At 50 miles per hour I don't even need wiper blades. I mix in some with my wiper fluid too before I reapply every spring/summer transition. It depends on the particular aerodynamics of the car, it seems. I've had cars that had good effect from Rain X at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour, effing sorcery, and cars that it didn't seem to work on until 60 miles per hour plus. Kind of meh. To apply, I just fill up the monkey pissers with Rain X windshield washing fluid. Purple stuff in the winter, it melts ice, and green, when it's warm out. Probably when I'm sick like they do in Asian countries. For a while, I wondered why I saw people with masks on public transit. I get it now. I probably will do the same forever. Even a little hand sanitizer. If everyone did it, it would do a lot for the population. I was one of those. I have an immune disorder, and the last time I was stuck taking public transit to work I caught 2 successive colds that had me coughing and wheezing for 5 months straight. Started carrying a mask in my bag and wearing it in crowds. An hour of getting odd looks from strangers beats a never-ending illness. I'm Asian, and I remember going to the UK for the first time and getting a cold. This was 10 years ago. I did the logical thing, wore a mask, and then went to an A&E because I didn't know where to go. The doctors and nurses there were terrified and quickly ushered me into another room. That's when I know wearing masks is an Asian thing. A few years ago, I was going to university in Japan. I caught a cold so was wearing a mask. My mother, Canadian, saw a pic with me wearing a mask and she was terrified I was suffering from pollution. In her defense, Fukushima had just exploded months earlier, but I was on the other side of the country. It was pretty hilarious. I went to Hawaii in 2019 and saw several Asian airport employees wearing masks. I had no idea it was an Asian thing, so I was a little concerned, like what these people know that I don't, lol. I was in London in March 2020, 2 weeks before the PM admitted they need lockdowns. The only people wearing masks in public were the Asians. I live in Pennsylvania, USA, and all the Asians started wearing masks the second the virus hit the news. Wish I was paying attention. Dublin as well. There was a rugby match scheduled between Ireland and Italy at the end of February, right as Italy was becoming the big virus hotspot. The match was cancelled, but way too late. Thousands of Italian rugby fans had flights and hotels booked to come to Dublin and get drunk, match or no match. So they did. Virtually every Asian restaurant in Dublin closed that weekend. All just cancelled their bookings at the last minute. They never said it was virus-related, just due to unforeseen circumstances. Everyone thought it was funny and a little ominous, but that was about it. I don't think anyone really believed it was as bad as they were reacting. Am Asian, was in London in March 2020. Wore a mask on my flight to Prague in February. The mom in front of me explained to her daughter all Asians wear it now, and got weird looks when I wore a mask to lectures. By start of March, masks were sold at £10 for a pack of 5 at the nearest pharmacy. Even though only Asians were buying, and by the next week people started to stop me on the street asking where I could buy them since they were all sold out. Edit. Although to be fair, thought my parents were mad to make me go home on the first available flight back then. Early pandemic was insane. I taught myself to sew because masks were either impossible to find, or they were being sold at scalper prices. My first mask was hand-sewn from a pillowcase and the strings are made from an old t-shirt. It's pretty ugly and rough, but functional. Eventually I was able to snag a cheap sewing machine and my masks are much nicer, but I'm holding on to that first mask as a sort of memento. It's also the first thing I have ever sewn that wasn't just fixing a button. You just reminded me in the beginning I paid like $12 for a mask and waited almost 3 weeks for it. For one crappily made mask, I could barely breathe out of. I'm glad someone gifted us a pack of the blue ones until I could find a better one. I had tons of N95 masks for the kids and I because we took a trip all over Asia the year before. We went to Malaysia, India, and Singapore. At that time the pollution was very bad in India, so I loaded up on them for that purpose. I wore a mask right from last March and gloves. People looked at me like I was crazy. But I remember seeing the price of masks and was gobsmacked. I have a friend from Taiwan who was pleading with me to buy a mask in February. I thought she was being alarmist, but then I looked up how much they cost on Amazon and they were sold out. All of them. You literally could not buy a mask on Amazon. That's the first time I realized how serious it was. The people who had been through SARS and MERS knew what products to buy and everyone else was late to the party. The Korean half of our family was the same way. In fact, we ordered a pile of masks and sanitizer in February on their behest, with the intent to get them here in the USA and then mail them to Korea because they were hard to find there. By the time we got them 3 or 4 weeks later, Korea had their supplies under control and we needed them more. In early February, my wife, a registered nurse, came home with an entire box of hand sanitizer, Clorox wipes, N95 masks, the whole setup. Her brother and I gave her so much crap because we're ogre-like morons. She said, "People are going to get weird out there and hoard this stuff." Maybe the biggest I told you so ever delivered. First ballot Hall of Fame. She brought it from the top rope and deservedly so. I always thought it was bullcrap when anyone Asian in Florida was given crap during COVID, when Asian-owned business were the first to take steps to prevent the virus and took it the most seriously. The hibachi place I frequent basically made an airlock between employees and customers. Same thing with the Chinese takeout places near me. They were not effing around. They had plexiglass from the countertop to the ceiling and used an intercom to communicate. I was quite impressed. Crazy, that's what mine had. With a little window to stick food through. I too was impressed. The gas station near me has had that feature since the 90s, but I'm pretty sure it was to stop bullets, not viruses. I'm not Asian. 2 weeks before lockdown and I made a bandana into a mask and was wearing it everywhere. The amount of sick people on the train was insane the weekend before we locked down. Visibly sick people obviously trying to get home before lockdown. I didn't want to be on the train, but my boyfriend's house flooded and he needed help. Manchester, and the same thing was happening in town. Asians actually do the one thing that can protect the most people: non-Asians. This is all Asians' fault. I worked with a lot of Asians and was always a little jealous that they would wear a mask when they felt unwell but not unwell enough to not come to work, sore throat, runny nose, etc. I think I've broken that barrier for myself now. Plus I have some pretty comfortable and cool looking masks. With WFH now a thing, I think we should all just WFH while we have the common cold or the sniffles. My old boss threatened to fire me when I suggested this during a meeting years ago. Hope it's easier now. I'm happy to negotiate partial remote positions. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.